So the funding that I received was a grant from the Australian government, which is used to help students who are planning on studying overseas and who have that kind of overseas portion of their study as a compulsory part of their degree. So it's called the OS Help Loan, the one that I received. I took the full amount, which is, I believe, $6,700, and that can be taken twice at different points during your undergraduate degree. So the basis of the funding was for transport to and from Cyprus, which was about $2,000. And then the rest was meals, accommodation was about $2,000, equipment, so any kind of stuff that I needed in the field, field clothing, books, resources to help me with writing the report later, and just kind of general, travelling expenses, I suppose, travel insurance, etc. I think that I got a better knowledge of kind of the environment of Cyprus, because when I first arrived we'd only looked at the original site, but actually having some extra money and not being so constrained by the budget allowed me to be able to go and visit the archaeological park, which of course cost money, and go and actually see the scale of some of the similar sites that were in the area, as well as just kind of being able to be a bit more engaged with the community that was there. Like, I got to go out for dinner every night with other people in the group and with other people from the Sydney team, and it kind of gave you a bit more engagement with the people you're working with, and I think that that would have been harder if I didn't have some extra money behind me and was really scrimping.
As an undergrad, I received most of my funding, so I was supported through Commonwealth funding through Centrelink. So as an undergrad, I stayed at college, and so I received Austudy as a student. I also received rent assistance, and I also then, those two on their own were what paid for me to stay at college. That covered my college expenses. Then I was also eligible because I moved I had to move away from home, from a rural area, to come to university in Armidale. I was able to then apply for 2 Commonwealth scholarships which were offered every year. One was for being from a rural and remote area, and the other one was because I had to move away from home to attend university. And each of those scholarships were worth about $2,000 each, so each year I got $4,000.
So at the moment, the main funding source I've got is from UNE. It's the UNE International Student Stipend and Scholarship. And I applied for that directly from UNE and was successful in my application. It's a scholarship specifically for doing PhD research. It covers me for 3 years. It involves all of my fees being waived, a stipend to live on, and as well as that, it includes overseas student health cover, as it's a requirement for all international students in Australia to have their own private health insurance.
When I was an undergrad, I got the Archaeology and Paleoanthropology Southeast Asia and the Pacific Archaeology Fieldwork Prize. That was $500 to help me go to Indonesia and do some volunteer archaeology work there on Flores. Then the Australian Association of Consulting Archaeologists Inc. Student Support Fund, that was to help me with my honours, which was also, it involved research with Indonesian artefacts as well. There's a Frederick G. White bursary for rural women. That's available to all rural women who can demonstrate financial hardship. There's also I applied for the Mary Doolan Memorial Travelling Scholarship, and I didn't get it because of some paperwork issues, so I got the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research Discretionary Fund Scholarship instead of that, again to help me do more research in Indonesia. The Sultan of Oman bursary, it's not exactly archaeology, that helped me go to Europe and sail in tall ships races, and then because of that, sail on a Viking ship, and I guess you could call that experimental archaeology. And then I did exchange in Indonesia, and I got 2 scholarships through the new Colombo Plan Mobility Grant, which is a government initiative to support student relations and development in Southeast Asia, or Asia in general maybe.
So in co-authorship with Professor Lloyd Wicks, we received 2 small research grants for the study of historic metal samples as a part of my PhD project. and these funds come from mines to Australian Nuclear Science and Technology Organization to use their equipment. So this money covers the use of instrument for the study of these samples. So because this is a new equipment and this is associated with significant costs for its use and for its maintenance. So this money primarily covers the use of this equipment, and also covers the living costs, the accommodation costs of me when I'm performing this experiment in Sydney. It's all about the application of new analytical techniques for the study of interesting samples, and in archaeology almost every sample is interesting, so this is very beneficial for archaeology to use such facilities and it is provides a new example of application of these techniques, which are mostly material science techniques, for the archaeometrical objectives. So which is I think appreciated by the people who run these expensive facilities. And this is why the possibility to perform such experiments are feasible.
If I were looking for funding, I would start with if you're already at university, I would start with my university, and I would go into the research office and I would ask if there is an online portal that they have that lists some of the grants that are available. So most universities will at least have a link on their research website to grants that are available, but those grants and scholarships may be more research-based. They may be more at the graduate level. But I would start with them. And then I would contact my local council and find out if there were any community grants for which you could apply. I'd also look online and I'd just start Googling. And then I would talk to others that may have received those grants. So the students that I've seen that have had success at the undergraduate level are with local, in your backyard scholarships. Look at all the community groups in your town. Most of them offer some type of aid. They do some sort of philanthropic work. So see if you qualify for that. Start with your council.
With Dr. Google at our fingertips, I mean, it's so much easier now than it used to be. For instance, when this student got the funding from the Masons, I think she just cold called them. Nowadays maybe that would still work, but now with Dr. Google out there, there's really no impediment to researching all this, or even just getting emails of the local Rotary Club president and saying, do you have any money for me? Can't hurt. May or may not work. It just depends on what how the particular organization is giving back to the community.
I was actively looking. I was in a job at UCL Institute of Archaeology in the UK on a set 2-year contract. That contract was coming to an end with no chance of renewal. So I was looking at that point to see, okay, I'm ready to start doing my PhD. What's out there? So at one point I was looking at doing Roman projects in the UK. I knew that I didn't want to continue in the same vein of research that I'd currently been doing. I fancied a bit of variety. I actually found the advertisement for this position on the British Archaeological Jobs Resource webpage, which normally just advertises commercial jobs in the UK, occasionally academic jobs, but occasionally as well they also creep up with international things, and it was advertised there as a scholarship-funded PhD to come to Armidale and study in Angkor in Cambodia.
Initially probably word of mouth from my lecturers and other students. Then I went online and checked the UNE website. They've got a whole page full of all the different scholarships you can apply for. A lot of them are not relevant to archaeology students. They are very specific to agriculture or something like that. But there are a couple in there that are specific to archaeology students, or like the rural women's one that's pretty open to people from, rural women from all kinds of backgrounds and degrees. And then after that, I just hit Google and had a look what else was out there, because there could be all kinds of things. There's Rotary scholarships and there's, I don't know what else, but you don't know what you might find until you start looking.
So the Commonwealth funding from Centrelink, I found out that information by actually going to Centrelink. I went to the office, spoke to some of the people there, told them what I was studying, what I was doing, and then they were able to tell me the range of funding that was available for me to apply to. It didn't necessarily mean I was eligible for, I would get that funding, but I was eligible to apply for the funding. There was another funding source which I also applied for, which I didn't get, but I applied for it as well, which was a Golden Key scholarship. Golden Key is a group that you're given membership of if you receive high marks during your undergraduate career, and then there's a couple of scholarships associated with that which you can apply to. And there was a number of websites I looked at for funding. So there's a couple of scholarship websites. They kind of operate a bit like job forums, where they just, every time there's a new scholarship that comes up, they kind of appear onto this website. And I really just trolled through those websites looking for anything that I was in any way fit the criteria for.
So I found the funding, I Googled, and then I asked my lecturer Melanie about it, and she said that that was something that was an option for us to apply for. So I applied for that through the UNE website and just gave them my details and filled out a form, and I got the money about 2 weeks later, so it was a really, really quick turnaround time.
The onus is really on you to seek out those funding sources. Unfortunately, there isn't this one repository where we can go, right, here is a list of every single thing you can apply for. If it were that easy, it would be great, and probably more people would apply. But as it happens, it's really up to you to seek out those opportunities. And if you do, you'll find that there are lots of pots of money that go unclaimed every year because people simply don't publicize them. So I can think of an example at the graduate level where we have lots of grants, so competitive Australian Research Council grants. Lots of them have PhD stipends attached to them. So that means that if you can get into the PhD program, you will get free education and you also get a stipend associated with that degree. They go unclaimed all the time because people don't advertise them properly. So if you have an interest in a specific area, another good way to go would be to contact someone in that area. If you're interested in history, go to the history department and go contact a professor and say, I'm interested in this. Do you know of any funding for which I could apply? Chemistry, biology, whatever your archaeology, we're all here to help. So start by asking, sending emails, making phone calls, showing up and knocking on doors.
Look everywhere. Look everywhere you possibly can and try and think outside of the box. Archaeology these days especially covers a very, very broad range, from the hard science through to the very, very hard humanities. So don't feel like you need to only be looking at archaeology and only looking in your home country. Look around, look for geography, look for science, look for humanities more broadly, look for art, look for history. All of these things have applications in archaeology depending on where your own research interest lies. Don't restrict yourself to just one website or just thinking, I want to do X in Y, so I'll only go there.
Look around, definitely look around. I wouldn't have even known about it if I hadn't Googled. I would not have thought that I would be able to have that kind of funding as an undergraduate. But I do really recommend also asking master's students or people who are doing their PhD, because they might have a bit more experience in what you can get during your undergraduate and honours years. Google is my best friend, so I would definitely recommend using Google. And ask your lecturers as well, because generally they get access to emails and newsletters and things that might have funding opportunities that you wouldn't have even thought about.
What you need to do, if you need money, the first thing you need to do is you just start looking everywhere and apply for everything and anything you may be eligible for. And sometimes some scholarships aren't actually filled. The positions that are available aren't filled, so you may actually get in luck and get something where you may not be as qualified as someone else, but they've got to pay the money out, and in the end you need the money. So I would absolutely suggest you apply for everything and anything, and you look, I was just doing Google searches for honours scholarships, postgraduate scholarships when I was in honours year. That's what I was just doing, a general search, because yes, the university has funding, but there are independent bodies that offer funding as well. And there are some Commonwealth bodies as well that offer funding, which people can be eligible for.
Be honest, but you're in advertising a little bit. We all are, but be honest with what your strengths are, because if you say you have a lot of experience in the field and all you've done is a 2-day field school, well, that's a bit of a lie, and you're cheating yourself and you're cheating that person that's looking at you to provide funding. The other thing you can do that's really helpful is have a file on your desk, on your computer, that has important information in there that will help you with funding. So start an Excel file. What are the things you've done? Have your CV in there. What is your current credit point average? What classes have you taken? Start a file of recommendations. Have people said nice things to you? What about emails? Has anyone ever sent you an email saying, hey, good job on this, that, or the other? Start a file of people you can go to ask for references. Ask for letters of recommendation, and keep all this on your desktop or somewhere on your computer so that you have a handy file already of resources that help you apply. I think it's better to be organized in that way, because knowing that sometimes you need to get quite a bit together to be able to apply for some of these things. And also be prepared to write. And write about what, if I'm going to give you $500, why should I give you $500, $5,000, $10,000? Sell yourself. Why do you deserve it over this person right here? And that's not being dishonest. But tell us what are you going to do that is so different, or why are you more deserving of this than someone else? Because at some level it is also a competition. And I think that's something to keep in mind.
Another aspect of this is if you're showing the initiative and you're calling around and you're asking, and people get impressed by that. There's no guarantees in life. There never is. But if you call up the president of the local Rotary and say, I want to do this, and I'm really excited, and I want to study at the University of New England because they're the best in the universe at what I want to study, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how I'm going to afford this. Is there any packets of money that you guys might have there for people like me, or can you steer me in the right direction? They may not have that pot of money to dip into, but they might know somebody who does. And the very fact that you've called them or contacted them, that shows initiative. And generally, it's people who show initiative that organizations like to support, really.
I think in archaeology, if anyone is going to stay in archaeology, just even academia, at the undergraduate or graduate level, you have to develop a thick skin. You're going to get rejected, and that's the world. You can get rejected 9 times, but get funded on the 10th. You only need 1 yes. You can have 20 no's, but you just need 1 yes, but you can't get any funding if you don't try. So I think you have to be prepared. You have to go in to each application with the idea that you're trying as hard as you can, but the competition might be stiff and you may not get it. Don't go in expecting to get something. Be pleasantly surprised if you do. But if you don't, learn from it and say, okay, I didn't get that. Ask for feedback. Some places won't give you the time of day, but other places might give you some feedback on why your application wasn't successful or what you could do next time to make it a stronger application. Always ask for feedback, because that also leaves an impression in the mind of your reviewers. And if you did or were to apply for that same funding a year later, they'll remember you.
Just keep searching. Keep looking all the time. Even now, I'm looking for more funding opportunities, looking for more scholarships, I'm looking for more research opportunities, jobs, excavation opportunities. Try and keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on. Look at people who've been successful in their funding applications and think, okay, how did they get that? Look at the kind of people that are getting funded, look at the people that aren't getting funded, and think, how can I make myself stand out from the pack?
Try. That's my general advice. If you don't try and you sit back, you're not going to get any funding. So try and ask questions. If you don't know where to start, grab one of us. Come ask your fellow graduate students, ask other undergraduate students that you know that have had funding. Ask a professor, ask your lecturer, go to the research office. Take the initiative, because initiative is rewarded. Nothing in this game, whether it be archaeology or academia, rewards people that just sit back and wait for opportunities to come to them, because that's not going to happen. What we really want to see is initiative, and that's what a funding body wants to see. That's what a community organization wants to see.
I'd say apply for as much as you can. Some of them you obviously won't meet the criteria for, but if you're even a little bit uncertain about it, it's worth just going for it. Like they say, you've got to be in it to win it. And yeah, some of them are merit-based, based on your academic record or something like that. Some of them aren't, so don't be put off by that. Some of them are relative, so they will pick the best applicant. So you might, if you're not feeling confident, it's worth applying anyway, because you don't know who else is applying. You might still get it. Sometimes, like I applied for the Mary Doolan one and I didn't get it because it wasn't offered that year. But because they'd got my application, they set up a special scholarship specifically for me that year because they wanted to give me the funding because they thought it was a good project.
Look as far afield as you can for funding sources, and don't be afraid to apply for them, because the worst thing that can happen is they say no, and so you know worse off than you are to begin with, but you've given it a shot, and what you're wanting is those occasions when you get the yes.
Really ask around, because even in the last couple of days I've become more open to the idea of getting more funding in my undergraduate years, and so I think every cent helps when you're a student, so make sure that you kind of maximise your opportunities while they're there.
You got to be in it to win it. Don't get discouraged. If you're easily discouraged, then your life's going to be hard in this game.
But my final advice, I suppose, is look in your own backyard, look at who you are in your own individual circumstances, and have an honest look about what kinds of things can you offer, or would somebody be interested in you for, and ask questions, and apply.
It's not going to come to you. You got to go out and dig for it. But you should have the training for that, shouldn't you?